That intro keeps
up, man?
getting more elaborate every time. How's it
Oh, no, I
going?
can't hear you.
Oh no, really?
Uh-oh, technical difficulties.
I'm seeing little dots.
Still
I
can't hear you.
think other folks can hear me. Let's can Sheila
I bet
hear
you have to
me?
pull those headphones out. That's going to be my guess.
No, my little dots are blinking.
I got
Let's
nothing.
see. I don't think it's me, man.
No, nothing.
Let's try. I mean, let's try
Technical difficulties. Please wait. Well, I'll go ahead and do an intro while you're figuring out your audio.
1 second.
This is our Wednesday wrap-up. Maybe you're just screwing with me because it's April Fool's and you're doing what I did to Ben earlier.
No,
That's our Wednesday wrap-up. We do this at the beginning of every month to talk about what we did the month before. Oh, Sheila can hear you. Okay, I guess I just can't hear you. Let me, I don't know, play around with something. I could hear Sheila. Caca, caca. Still can't hear you. I'm going to bounce and come right back. Give me a minute.
Sure.
I can entertain you.
Yeah, hello.
Face is so big.
What's that?
I
Oh yeah, because you're like.
I shared to a whole bunch of other, so I got it going on TikTok Live and stuff from my computer, and it made my face giant. It like zoomed in. I was like,
yeah,
yes,
mm-hmm.
I'm used to it. That's weird though, but I can hear you.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, we can hang out.
Yeah. I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Hey, welcome back.
There we go. Well, I don't know what that was. I could hear Sheila fine getting ready in the green room thing, but all right, we're good to go. Take two.
StreamYard April Fool's you.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it's a weird day. You never know what to trust today, and what might be real, what might not be real. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So about April Fool's too, I'll tell a little story that I usually pick on Ben every year and do something. Well, not every year. I spice it up. You know, some years I do something to him, some years I don't, and I've done some pretty good stuff to him. Those are probably a different conversation. Last year, though, and I didn't do it this year, but I think I scarred him for an entire year, was, you know, I usually keep it clean, so I put some hand sanitizer on before I eat my meals, and Ben always relies on my hand sanitizer. So last year, I had an exact duplicate of my hand sanitizer, and we went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I put my hand sanitizer on. I put it back in my pocket. I started wiping it on. I was like, oh, hey, man, you want hand sanitizer? He's like, of course. You know, puts his hand out. So I pull it back out. I squirt it in his hand. He starts rubbing. And, like, just then the waitress walks up. And he's, like, rubbing and starts looking at me. And, like, I basically put, like, silicone lubricant in his hand. So he just kept wiping and freaking out because it goes on. It feels like, it looks and feels like identical. So you're just like, oh, maybe if I rub harder, it'll, like, kind of go away. And it's like, no, then it's like, you know, you're rubbing the back of your hand trying to like get it to soak in, and it just. So I think I scarred him because the whole rest of the year he won't really put on hand sanitizer unless I do it first. So I could only do that once, and he's savvy to that. So I didn't come up with anything this year. I just let him be. But the day's not done yet, so I don't know. Maybe we can come up with something on this call that we can shock him with.
Yeah. So that implies then that Ben doesn't listen to this call.
Yeah, he usually does because then he'll have some kind of comment about what I shouldn't have said or what I should have said. But
right.
Yeah. Usually it's when we start talking about his mom, I get all the angry messages.
Yeah, he doesn't love that. He's not a huge fan of that.
Doesn't like when I talk about his mom.
He's not a huge fan of that.
Turns out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay, I'll do the intro again then. Yeah. So welcome to our Wednesday wrap up. We do this once a month, beginning of the month, a more technical deep dive into what we built, what's happening behind the scenes, both from the product and technical perspective, what we're working on, what got deployed. I'm Josh. I'm the CEO. This is Guillermo. He's our CTO. And generally we take, we don't really, this isn't really like Q&A form. We're just kind of, doing a State of the Union, but we always take a question at the end, which in this case, we will just pull them from a private chat or comments or somewhere in here, maybe a comments tab. So with that, man, you want to take it away and walk us through what happened last month?
Yeah, let's do it. So we actually just got back from Builderfest, was in Argentina. So I wanted to give props to those guys. A really great conference. This is the third Builderfest now. The first one was in Toulouse, France. The second was in Da Nang, Vietnam. And this one was in Buenos Aires in Argentina. So props to the TX Pipe team. It was a really, really great event. And, you know, it's always super encouraging to get out there and see a lot of these really brilliant people just keep showing up every year. Like markets go up, markets go down, and like just the dedication of like building really cool stuff and solving really hard problems. You know, a couple of people mentioned it, and it's totally true. Like it starts to feel like, you know, when year after year and ups and downs and like wins and losses and whatever, and all the same people keep showing up, it starts almost feeling, it's like the same people. It starts feeling like a bit of like a reunion every year. You know, everyone kind of getting back together and be like, all right, what's everybody doing? How's everybody, you know, getting on, and what's everybody working on? So yeah, it was really cool. A lot of really interesting conversations. I mean, actually, a lot of it sort of ties into the same stuff that you and I have been talking about a lot lately. Is there were multiple conference talks and then breakout things specifically about AI and how everybody's using that now, and how everyone's using it as a productivity multiplier. But yeah, really, really cool conference. Glad we're out there. So props again to the TX Pipe team. But yeah, otherwise, we can go ahead and just jump into the stuff for this month. So yeah, so first thing on the infrastructure side, so we've talked before about our internal tool that we use for sprouting, and take a step back from that. Sprouting is how we take all the disparate pieces that make up a DEA and we like bundle them all together and get them ready to get put on chain. Our internal tool that we use for that is called Inception. It was a really good start in terms of, because Sprout is just a CLI, command line interface, where you just have to like type the stuff in and pass directories of where files are and stuff like that. Inception was sort of a first pass at putting a user interface on top of that, so that like folks in the operations team, you know, with Mansky's team, could just run that stuff and didn't need to actually be in the command line to do it. So it's sort of a wrapper around that. And our first version of that, kind of, we've had it now for a couple of years, and it could really, it was time for a refresh. So just this month, did like a full refresh of Inception, modernized a lot of things with it, giving those folks direct access to the logging when things go wrong, like what went wrong and why, giving them much more like feedback in terms of if it's progressing, has it stalled, what's the problem. And so that's the kind of stuff where like, it's not, you know, the super sexy stuff necessarily, but really going to speed up our minting and debugging internally, so that those folks can just do what they need to do. If something needs to be corrected, they know what it is, and they don't have to then hit up people on the tech team to go and like dig into logs that are kind of like, you know, logged away and hidden somewhere to try and find them. So yeah. Additionally, from the infrastructure standpoint, just been working a lot on cleaning up and optimizing our CI and CD pipelines, so that our builds are more reliable and get out faster. And so those just a whole separate effort that's been going on with that. From the Solana side, I want to give folks an update for Solana and where the build token and all of that. We've had a lot of competing priorities going on lately, but with Solana minting, I'll give folks some background on what the issue was there. So when we launched the build token, it was the first time we'd minted anything at scale on Solana. We'd done test mints and stuff, but we hadn't done anything like a production level mint. And so when we minted it, everything about it worked end to end, right? So everything about it like was working. Like you could mint it. We were able to sell it. Obviously, you could pull it up on your bookshelf. You can use it to like consume your DEA, and all of that was working. The issue that we didn't find until afterwards, because like there was no like hard technical problems with the mint. It was on the soft side, sort of on like the more like cultural side of like the Solana ecosystem. What Mansky found when he was going to then try and stand up the build token on a DEX was that the tool that we had used, sort of the builder abstraction that we had used, it adds this thing called the mint close authority automatically. And it turns out that just from a cultural convention on the Solana side, DEXs really don't like when it has that mint close authority. I see it as like a red flag. The ones that we could explicitly control, we turned off. Like we turned off freeze authority and stuff like that. But the mint close authority is one that gets implicitly put in there that you actually don't have any control over and you can't change it. And so that was automatically put into the contract. And then when we did that, DEXs were saying, hey, you know, we really don't want to list anything that has that. And so we're actually having trouble finding anyone that would list it. The other piece too is that in our mind, the notion, even though it's a fungible token, if you're buying one Bill token, that's one copy of his one-man show, right? Like there's no, even though it's fungible, there's no like clear notion of why a fraction of a Bill token would make sense. So we deliberately minted it when we did. We minted it with 0 decimals to say, okay, if you have one, you've got it, and that's it. Turns out also that DEXs highly prefer that when it's a fungible token for listing that it has decimals. The convention on Solana is 9, but any amount of decimals would work. So what we had to do was basically rewrite our entire how we do the sprouting and the bundling of Solana contracts to make it that it no longer has the mint close authority. We had to actually hand roll the contract so that it no longer has mint close authority, and now it has decimals. And so as of like last week, we confirmed that sprouting, minting, the bookshelf, consuming the DEA, and admin all works with this new mechanism that we're using. And then additionally, in admin on our side, we have the ability to see live a live view of the display on chain of the supply that's currently being held. And then additionally, what we can do is we can take a snapshot of all current holders for a given campaign on Solana. And finally, we can also airdrop tokens to folks on Solana. So we have the ability for airdrops on Cardano, for example, that we use very often. We now have a way that we can, like in our own admin tool, do airdrops. So for folks that have the Bill token over the next like couple of weeks, let's say on Solana, keep an eye out. What will probably happen is we'll just let you know when it happens, but you'll just wake up and there will be like a new token in your wallet, and that will be the one that we list on the DEXs because that'll be the one that'll be compliant with all those different things. So all of that stuff got built this month as well. So a ton of progress on Solana there. And I think we're probably going to keep adding more features. Oh, one thing I didn't even list here. We now also added the ability for promo codes on Solana, which we didn't have before. So the same way we've been able to do promo codes on every other chain, we now have it on Solana as well. I guess I'll pause there. Anything that you want to add from the Solana side as a chain or?
Not necessarily Solana, but I think just like maybe higher level, which is, last month you were just getting your agent set up. And so I thought it'd be nice if you just talk about your experience over the last month.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. And with that too, I guess it was probably a good idea to take a step back and mention like all this stuff that we've been able to go through is big. It's been all like the work has been greatly enhanced by using agents. And so like, yeah, I mean, it's been fantastic. I mean, it's one of those things where what's cool about it is that the limitation is really just like how clearly you can articulate the thing that you need. And then from there, like when like an agent starts doing its work and like going and writing, and sometimes it takes 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. It's funny because then you get the sensation of, well, damn, like, well, I could probably be doing something else right now. So you're like, all right, what other stuff have I been trying to work on? Or what other ideas have I had that I want to get done? So you spin up like a new tab and you start talking to a new agent and you start feeding it all the stuff that it needs. And then when that one goes off for like 15 or 20 minutes and you spin up another one, you do that again. So a lot of these things we're working on, been able to like parallelize a lot of these efforts because yeah, like when one of them's working, you work on the next and stuff like that. And so it's been a huge productivity boost in terms of all the stuff we've been able to do. I mean, like I said, the entire refactor of Inception, totally revamping how we do our CI/CD pipeline, all of these features I talked about for Solana, all that stuff's been just this past month. So it's been a massive productivity win. And like I said, a lot of folks at Builderfest were talking about it too. There was conference talks about it. And, and I think that for folks that haven't yet played around with it, what I always say is the good way to think about it, I think, is like, it's not just like a genie out of a bottle that'll do everything for you. But it is a really great productivity enhancer of the user. So like whatever your own like ability and capacity is, it takes that and then multiplies it by many times. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're going through here is the aggregate of all these things would have probably taken 4 to 6 months, right? And we're able to knock all of it out just last month. So it's
that's what I kind of wanted to hit on, right, with everything. Is just like it's easy to go through the list and be like, oh, cool. But like when you really step back and say like what this would have taken, a year ago versus what you're able to do now is pretty incredible.
Yeah, so we're really moving now. And the other thing too, the next thing I wanted to go over is that like with the agents and like agent management, the other thing too that we're doing internally is starting to like document all these best practices, the different like rules that we have the agents follow, coding conventions for how they create a pull request, things that need to be checked. We then have like standards for other agents that check the previous agent's work and then comment on pull requests and give suggestions. There's a lot of like little like nuanced things that go into it. A different sort of like half a dozen different skills that we now like share and use internally. There's a lot of different things that go into there. And so it's like, as other folks are getting up and running, how we can get them going as quickly as possible. And so just trying to capture in a centralized place in our own version control that we can, and also use it across different repositories. Because once you have a certain repo that's really dialed with top level Claude, directly level Claudes, code comments, all these other things, you want to make sure then all of a sudden like, oh, well, how do I pass this to my other repositories? Because really the way these agents work, if you think about it, is they have this entire wealth of knowledge that they've been trained on, and they can talk to you about any of those things in any way you'd like them to talk to you. So it really becomes like the challenge working with agents becomes twofold. One is, how do you get them to as quickly as possible understand the context of what it is you want to have a conversation about? And in this case, it's usually like working within your code base or starting some new like code. So then it's like, okay, how quickly can we get them to be able to traverse the code base, like a brand new agent that pops up with no context? How do you make it to traverse the code base to understand it? And the second piece is, how do you get from one agent to the next a reasonably deterministic output in terms of its quality and the kind of code that it writes? And so that's where all these other like conventions and things that we're wrapping around them come in. So it's been a massive productivity multiplier, and it brings up its own sort of like set of tasks of then like maintaining the agents and like working on like refining them and keep getting them better and more predictable.
Yep.
But yeah,
I could talk a lot about agent stuff, but
well, yeah. So it's been great, right? And so along those lines too, I want to mention to folks that like we hear you. Like obviously, our mobile app development has really slowed down. We're picking that back up, and you should be able to see now similarly in terms of like with the team that we have increasing throughput. You should see here in the coming weeks new builds coming out for iOS and Android to match from a feature parity standpoint, match all the features that we've been rolling out on web. So first will be public profiles and following and followers and all of those things. Then we can add send to friend, and there's a lot of other things that we can add to it moving forward. But yeah. So anyway, like I kind of like blazed through that list, but to your point, like that stuff that I mentioned would have easily taken 4 to 6 months to build all that out. And it's and including being gone for a week at a conference, that was all done, probably in 2 to 3 weeks time. So
yeah, I mean, you got a big chunk of stuff done even on the plane ride, I mean, it's great. Like,
that's true. It's funny too with the internet on the plane. It's like, it's funny. The internet was so bad that I couldn't even really pull up GitHub, but it was good enough that I could like have an SSH terminal conversation with the agents that I had running. And so I got a bunch of work done.
True. Just need to get some text through to my agent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. What's next?
Well, that's what I got, man. I mean, it's kind of like that. I just kind of flew through it, but that's all the stuff that we built this month. Oh, one of the things too that's in test right now is we're also adding optimistic indexing for EVM. So EVM transactions should also go faster too. But I mean, that's that. Oh, and then for the other thing I wanted to mention too is for last month, we went live in beta test with Send to Friend. If you're interested in helping with that, I want to test that, reach out to Nacho. But yeah, that's been going well too. And I want to, I need to make some changes to that as well and get some of those things out. Because the other piece too that we still need to figure out is like for like the self-directed wallet case where we're providing those fees, we still need to talk about like how we want to capture that, and we do a subscription model or what we want to do for that. But the functionality is there. It works. It's super cool. If you want to try it out, let Nacho know in Discord. But yeah, it's working. It's awesome. I've been sending stuff to friends and family.
True. Well, I can talk more about some of the stuff I've been working on and
yeah.
So like, a big project that we're embarking on is that we sort of had in process for a while and then kind of paused it and recently picked it back up, is to ingest the entire print book catalog. So, one of our biggest investors, Ingram Content Group, they're the world's largest book distributor. They distribute books, for everybody, for, basically everywhere you can buy a book, just about, buy a book on Amazon, it goes through Ingram, buy a book online somewhere, it pretty much comes from them. So, and a lot of physical stuff too, physical stores. So, they have an inventory of 12 million titles. I think if I remember the last stats were, they warehouse about maybe like 1.5 million of those. The other bulk of that is all printed on demand. So what we got access to was the entire feed of all of that. So we're in the process right now of ingesting all of that content and going through that so that we will launch probably what we'll launch first is going to be like a kind of curated selection, maybe a couple thousand titles of like the top titles, print books. And kind of the way it will work is that, every physical book that gets purchased will then, get some amount of stuff token back as basically a purchasing reward. Right? So a piece of that goes into liquidity and then gives the token back to the user so they can use it for a future purchase. So, obviously lots of stuff to finalize and wire up. We'll try to get some, version of it out to look at, and then working through processing all the rest of that data, which is obviously you can imagine 12 million books and all the associated metadata and book covers and images and preview content, and it's a ton of stuff, right? So kind of in parallel with that, we have a couple audiobook companies that we're working with as well around doing the same thing, bringing in their entire catalogs. So what the agent stuff is allowing us to do is to speed up some of those processes that just were some of this is just data processing, and it's tedious and slow and boring, and perfect for an agent to set and crank through endlessly. So no like exact timeline other than we're pushing to quickly get that out, and we'll probably have some other updates on the ebook side at some point too here. But yeah, I mean the goal being, right, we want to have the largest, most integrated bookstore that's you could say AI enhanced, or also joined with kind of a social graph, and there's a lot of really cool things that we can do that we've kind of mocked up and tested out, and it's gonna be really cool. Like we're gonna go from hundreds of titles to thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions, like in a pretty quick span of time, which is something we've always wanted to do. We've just never, like you said, it's agentic stuff is a force multiplier. So it's now we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, we have the capacity to really go and execute these things. There's some other projects too that we've built that are kind of in the hands of on the sales side, so we can't really talk about them yet. But really cool stuff. Some stuff I think we might have mentioned some of the stuff Ben's working on in the vinyl record space. Some other book stuff as well. There's a lot of things happening very rapidly. Sheila's got some incredible tools she's building on the social side. Mansky's been building some really cool stuff, as you kind of mentioned, and you guys, working on how we can get to more of a self-service portal for all this stuff. I think I'd mentioned on a call with Ben a week or so ago that we were working on a store as well. There's a lot of things that we're going to be able to get done, especially in the next coming months, right? Like you fast forward, 3 months or 6 months from now, like are going to look like a radically different company in every possible measurable way. So somebody I saw had posted something about, when 2026 roadmap, and it's like, at this point, it's like the roadmap is changing so fast and so much more stuff is getting piled on top of it that it'd be hard to scope out hey, for all of 2026 we're going to build this, because it's the way that I think you and I have been looking at it, right? It's like we've got tons of backlog tickets that we wanted to work, and we're going to start cranking through all of that, where it's like some of that stuff we probably would have thought hey, we won't get to this for a couple of years because it's so far out of how much time and effort it's going to take to do it. And so now it's backing it back down to where thinking in terms of even like a monthly cycle is like even what we're thinking about getting done in a month is very easily more than we would have gotten done in a year. So it becomes very difficult to speculate on like, hey, what are you going to get done in all of 2026? It's like, well, good gosh, man, like we're going to launch tons of, sub businesses. Like some of that stuff is already happening. Like all these things are going to revolve around stuff. We're going to have like integrations on integrations and tons of partnerships. Like, and every, organization that we talk to, like they're extremely excited about it because we're able to bring tool sets in that in every vertical that they've wanted. So, yeah. And I think we're 9 minutes till liftoff with the astronauts going to.
Oh, cool.
the moon.
Nice.
Also, totally unrelated, but I did just post that Cardano was just named the second most quantum compliant blockchain, which is really
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Second to Algorand. So it's pretty cool that we've
Oh,
done. We randomly have the two of the most quantum resistant chains already. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, and to your point, like, I think it's worth sort of doubling down on mentioning and understanding that, like, I think we're gonna get so much stuff done. Like all that stuff that I mentioned that we got done. Like to be clear, I've really been up and running now with sort of like this more like open-ended kind of agentic setup for probably about 3 weeks, and then of that 1 week was like basically fully out at a conference. So everything that I mentioned there is probably got done in about 2 weeks of work, right? Which is insane to think about. Like there's no way, like absolutely no way. Like all the stuff that I mentioned, like I said, probably 6 months worth of work I did in like 2 weeks. So I think folks are going to be very happy to see how much stuff we're cranking out here. I think, like I said, even stuff that we've had on web for a while, I think we're going to see the mobile apps catch up very, very quickly. And then we're going to be able to start adding like a bunch of like really cool stuff on our web platform, a lot of like rebranding of things. I just, like you said, our backlog of things that we knew we needed to build has been so long for so long. And I think it's going to be good. I'm excited about it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're building all kinds of random other projects too that we'll announce and talk about as time goes on. That'll all sort of tie into the ecosystem. And it's fun to see. It's like almost, it's as fast as we can think of stuff now. We can start building things, which is good because we've got a lot of ideas.
Well, yeah, especially because you can like parallelize them. So it's kind of just like, it almost becomes, and for me, I don't know about for you, but for me, it becomes like almost like it's like very gamified where like when one agent is running off and doing something, I'm like, okay, before that one comes back, what's the next thing I can kick off? Because I have like a minute here that I free and I can like start on something else, Yep.
Yeah, I'm always juggling between all of them, trying to keep them all busy.
Yeah. I
actually had to commit this week to a second Pro Max account.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Dang.
I'm just like burning through, like I'm getting a lot done. It's there's a lot going on, but
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah. I'm stoked to see what our recap on May 1st looks like, or, the first week of May. Because I think we're just now starting to hit a stride. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, that's true. That is good to mention too, is like part of this is also like, which I think, and you can maybe talk to some about just at the Cardano Summit, like kind of the vibe on it, but it's like a lot of this stuff is happening so quickly, like even for us internally, right? It's like adjusting to like workflow process of like, hey, what does this mean? How do we like utilize it in the best way? How do we like put some, some structure in place so that everybody can contribute and everything's still secure and, follows some sort of orderly process. And, it's definitely a struggle, right? Like the project we're working on right now, it's like, hey, this is probably going to be the most difficult one because it's the first time that we've really had like both of us and both of our agents are going to simultaneously work on completing a project. And, how do we do that efficiently? And how do we, create processes that are repeatable so that things can speed up even from that, right?
Yeah, and then even like I mentioned, just sort of in passing, like that internal repository that we have, all these best practices and things. I mean, it's getting very big, very quickly of just all this stuff that we're capturing in terms of like, here's again like conventions for how you stand up a repository. Here's how you make that repository like really searchable for agents. Here's how you stand up a pull request. Here's the different things that you need to include in a pull request. Here's all different things you need to be checking for. And the thing about it is when you add those things, agents are really good at following lists of stuff. And so then we kind of like your agent goes and looks like, oh, I need to do all these different things. And then every one of these little, sort of guardrails and benchmarks and things you add makes the output that much better and that much more predictable. And so like having all of our agents at the company all route through these same best practices instead of everybody doing it slightly differently, then makes it that you get a much more, like I've been saying, like deterministically predictable quality of the code that you're writing. So really, really excited about it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, anyway, that's all I got. I don't know if we have any questions, but
no, I mean, I think, shout out to Song. Got a comment. They're always supporting us and happy to be their minting engine of choice, I suppose. Yeah, I think that's it, man. Maybe we just bounce early and get back.
Let's do it. I think it sounds. Yeah, literally, I'm like, I'm itching to get back to like responses.
They're feeling lonely, and somebody's got to go talk to them. So
yeah,
awesome, man.
All right, cool. We'll do it next month.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
it.
Later.